Welcome to SteamLUG Cast, episode 23. We are recording this live on Saturday, the 26th of December 2015. This is the end of year extravaganza. A Santa spanking contest. Drugs, we won't have any of these, but we have guests, co-hosts. Bean.
Hello.
Corbin.
Hi.
Hero.
Greetings.
Dora.
That's me.
Namoda.
Hey there.
And my name still is the Ritter.
Hooray.
So, what has everybody been playing? Let's start again with Bean.
So I'm gonna save my current favorite for last though. Nuclear Throne. I'm really kind of have a love-hate relationship with that game. It's a little too random for my taste and a little relies too much on Twitch, which I think
You're getting too old for?
yeah, I may have to just admit that I'm not going to get much better at this one. That I've kind of hit my plateau of the skill at the level that this game requires. And been playing a little bit of Saints Row: Get Out of Hell. Very excited that finally that Saints Row 4 and Get Out of Hell were ported to Linux. I've been waiting for this since that SteamOS sale where they announced it was, well, didn't really announce, but it was advertised that it'd be out. And Rocket League. I kind of shamefully will admit that I've been playing Rocket League in Windows. But seriously, as soon as it comes to Linux, I think that's probably when my current love affair with Windows is going to end. So, Corbin, what have you been playing?
Yeah, of course, I played with you Rocket League, and as we all know, it's not on Linux yet, so I had also to play it on Windows, but the other games I played are all available on Linux, so I tried to improve the skills and the levels on Assault Android Cactus. I finally managed to get past the second boss, and the third, and the fourth, and the fifth, I guess. So the boss with the spider, I don't know which one it is, but that was the boss
Venom.
Yeah, Venom. That's the boss I have beaten lately, and I don't know how many bosses are coming after that. I thought it was the end boss, but it wasn't. So
Yeah, there's one more that remains.
yeah, that one I didn't already beat. Still have to improve my skills because this game is so. Maybe I'm getting too old for this shit. I don't know.
Well, one of the nice things about Assault Android Cactus, I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but I have to, because it's just, Assault Android Cactus there's no random number generation. Everything is based on your position, movement, and so on. We've had the developers on the cast before, and they've talked about that. It's one of the reasons I still kind of enjoy Assault Android Cactus, where Nuclear Throne is starting to make me cranky. Assault Android Cactus has a system that you can kind of you can start to understand the system. So it doesn't necessarily rely so much on your Twitch ability. While that comes in handy,
Yeah, that's true. I realized that I improve from each game I play, and I was surprised that at first I really had problems beating the second boss. But if you try different things and then realize how to beat it and learn the mechanics, then it's getting easier. And so you can proceed in the game. That's very cool. I like it. I tried to play it with the Steam controller and with the Profile Hero Mate. Works pretty well, but for the second boss, the security boss, there the mouse region setting doesn't fit very well. So I used the Xbox controller for that boss and finally could proceed. So yeah, it's a very nice game. I like it. On the fall sale, I bought Axiom Verge. And oh dear, this is such a good game. I like it so much. Probably because it reminds me of the NES, Nintendo Entertainment System area, and this is totally my game. The glitches which you have had when your cartridge wasn't clean enough, you put it in, and then you have some graphic glitches. Those things are also in the game, but they are used for the game mechanics. Later you get a weapon to glitch those glitches, and then they open doors, or the enemies are getting weaker or even stronger or disappear or something like that. So that's very fun. It's a action platformer. You have boss fights. The graphics is in retro style. And if you like games like Metroid or Castlevania, this may be one of your games. Even though it has some problems, the controls sometimes aren't as easy as they should be, and the level design is nothing new. It's what a platformer looks like. But the soundtrack is great, and what's most impressive about that game, it's all done. Like, I mean, the development, the game design, the graphics, the sound, it's all done by one person. His name is Tom. I have to look it up. What's his name? Tom Harper? Tom Hepp was his name. Yeah. Tom Hepp, he did everything alone, and that's very impressive. Yeah, I also played Saints Row 4. But about that we will talk later. So, let's continue with Hero.
Right, so I have played this really awesome game called Make Configurations for the Steam Controller, and it's probably my favorite. In the past month, I've had probably a greater variety of games than I've ever played in that period of time, because I have to make all the configs. I like it. It's a cool device. Anyway, Dora, what have you been playing?
Alright, well, as y'all know, I'm a shameless wine gamer most of the time. I picked up a bunch of stuff in the Steam sale. Most of it I checked runned on Linux. One in particular didn't, but that was Undertale, and of course I had to play that. It's probably the best RPG I've ever played, I think. It made me laugh, it made me cry, it broke my heart, taught me to love again, you know. So runs pretty great in wine, and I really highly recommend it if you haven't played it yet.
That's incredible praise for an RPG.
Yeah, it's pretty unique as far as RPGs go.
Yeah.
In case you missed it, it pretty much got all the praise as if it is the second coming of video game Christ through the entire award season, pretty much everywhere.
Well, I didn't care about the first coming of video game Christ. Why should I care about the second coming?
Either way, this game...
To me, it's more of like video game Freya, video game Odin. I don't know.
Very nice.
Okay, let's say indeterminate video game deity that shall return for an indeterminate number of times. I don't know.
Yeah.
And possibly to Linux maybe one day, hopefully, but they've never said so.
Elder Gods?
That would be nice.
Yeah. It's not confirmed that it will ever be on Linux, but it seems vaguely likely. So I hope it does, because then you all will get a chance to actually play it. Anyways, I guess that's it for me. What about you, Dorita?
Oh, I have been hugely enjoying Saints Row 4. Played all the way through that already, pretty much doing every side quest.
Wow.
And it has been amazingly fun. Just a regular romp. People might know Saints Row as a kind of wackier GTA, but we got 4 first, which isn't exactly a wackier GTA. It's something different entirely, because you hardly ever drive around in that game because of superpowers. But we will talk about that more a little later. And I've also started Saints Row Get Out of Hell, which we also got, but it is not even close to Saints Row 4. It's just like a spin-off that should have been a bit higher priced DLC, but instead they made it a full game, and it isn't exactly deserving of that. And I also played my go-to game for just these 20-minute sessions that turn into 3-hour sessions because people just can't finish that map because there's a huge influx of noobs. It's Insurgency. So, what about you, Nemoda? What have you been playing?
Well, mostly 7 Days to Die. We had that big Alpha 13 update and added a lot of content. It's been a lot of fun. It's still got some bugs, and they're kind of going through and fixing them as they can, I guess, but been a lot of fun. And I played with this Saints Row 4. I was a little disappointed. It like, I walked through a door and it rolled the credits, and that was the end of the game, and it seemed like it didn't last very long at all, but I'll have to give it another try, I guess. And Dirt. We played a lot of Dirt, and that's been a really fun game, multiplayer especially.
Did you actually not notice that this was a kind of joke going through the door?
Yeah, I did, but I thought I'd play on it.
Yeah, because nobody else here seems to have caught on to that.
Anyway, moving on.
I know exactly which door you're talking about, and we can talk about that later.
Yeah. So, SteamLUG community, what's going on here?
Well, as it's been a while since our last cast, we have many past events, including Orbs Clan Wars, Broforce, Insurgency, Dota 2, T-Worlds, Vertiginous Gulf, Storm United, Running with Rifles, Dirt Showdown, No More Room in Hell, Trine 3, and Serious Sam 3.
Who attended to any of those?
I went to most of those, I think.
Went to a few of them.
I think I missed all of them.
Ah.
I was there for Insurgency and No More Room in Hell, I believe.
Yeah, I missed all of them.
Aw.
Aren't we the best hosts?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was there for Dirt Showdown, No More Room in Hell, and Serious Sam 3. Serious Sam 3, though, we need to still play for... Need to get the trees.
Didn't get all the trees.
And Dirt. And Dirt Showdown, I have to admit, was a lot... It's definitely a lot of fun when you can get... Like, when we had... I think at one point we had 8 people in there
Yeah.
doing some of the demolition. It was fun. It was a lot of fun. So definitely, hopefully, we should play one of those in the future.
I highly recommend playing some single player because it's a little unbalanced when people who have played single player have all the unlocks. So might do that first.
Oh, right, because the unlocks are based on you earn money for winning events.
Yeah.
And then with that, you upgrade the vehicle. Now, single player, multiplayer money gets shared, but the problem is you earn so little in multiplayer that it's difficult to upgrade your vehicles. So yeah, if you're interested in playing Dirt Showdown, play some single player.
Sounds like Coffin Dodgers.
A little bit.
Yeah, very much like that too.
Every single one of the events I attended, I was using my Steam controller.
Very nice.
Just realized that, looking at the list.
Yeah, I remember you saying as we've played some Counter-Strike Global Offensive that with that game you want to win. And it's the first game you play with keyboard and mouse again.
Yeah. I broke down for one game.
Shame on you.
So what do you think the best game for the controller was?
Of all the events? Huh. Maybe, running with rifles.
Oh, nice.
The config that I made for running with rifles, I was really happy with. And it's just really smooth, it's nice to use. It's more comfortable than a mouse and keyboard, and really doesn't feel like there's many downsides when you're using it for that game.
Did you make your configurations public?
Yeah. Anything, as soon as I complete the configuration and I label everything, I make it public.
That's nice. So if I don't like something, I can yell at you for it.
Right.
Good.
Well, I could make an alternate one for you. I've done it before.
Or you can change it yourself. And then republish it.
Shh, shh. No, he has to yell at Hero.
You just want me to get yelled at.
Maybe. So what have we got for upcoming events?
Nothing at all. But you can suggest events. Go to our Steam community group and suggest something in this year's thread, which will right now paste, or somebody else might. Please give us suggestions, because if people actually suggest events and you turn out and be there for the event, more people will be there, and we actually make something happen that interests people.
Sounds good.
So moving on to Steam and Valve news. The Steam support site added a new feature that for some reason a lot of people were asking for. This was to remove games permanently from your account.
You know, like trying to explain why you have Honey Pop or Everlasting Summer in your library.
And that's especially for German people an interesting feature, because if you accidentally bought a censored game and have the chance to get the uncensored game, you can now remove it yourself and activate the uncensored one. But as far as I've heard, you have to be careful with keys or activations from bundles, because if you then remove one of those games, the whole bundle might be deleted.
Sounds like a typical Valve.
I don't know, maybe even if you activated the game through an external key, that key might be valid again, and you can give it to somebody else to activate it.
But that's a lot of maybe.
Yeah.
At least with Left 4 Dead 2, it was in former times, as my girlfriend had a cut one, and she asked the Valve support to do it, which was the way before how to do it, and she could activate the key on a different account. So probably it's the same.
Interesting. Well,
we can hope so. I'm not trusting that off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I think the majority of people that want this feature, it's because they bought a free game that they were embarrassed to have in their library.
Nah. Who gets embarrassed by games they played?
I honestly believe some people are really angry at some games, and this is like a mental thing of wanting to destroy that thing that you really hate.
That too.
You were the idiot and pre-ordered Call of Cowboys of Laserdoom 3, and it was absolute crap, and now you don't want to have it in your library anymore.
Right, never have to see it. Not enough for it to be hidden, it has to be gone.
I guess that is now mitigated by the refund system, but there's a lot of old, let's say, skeletons in the closet here.
Probably it's also a method from Valve just to decrease their load of work. Yeah, because how many people are now on Steam?
Over 100 million active accounts.
Yeah, and if, I don't know, 1% is asking about removing a game, that's a lot of people.
Right, and so it brings down their support requests if they can just tell them to use this feature instead.
That said, I don't know why someone would want to remove Honey Pop. It's a masterpiece.
All right, so Valve's also kind of explained some of the recent changes in security and trading. I'll admit I just read this today. I mean, I was impacted by this because I recently dropped my phone where I had the mobile authenticator, so I no longer had access to it.
Let's first introduce what those changes were.
Oh, okay. So the biggest changes were actually just delays to trades if you didn't have the mobile authenticator app. Other restrictions were, for example, well, actually, I don't even have to guess the days I had it
a
up.
30-day delay.
The 30-day delay is if you buy a game as a gift and want to trade it. You still can gift it
Oh, right.
directly. And
But that was existing before.
yeah, that's
before this
before
change.
those changes, correct.
These are new changes, mostly related to the mobile authenticator app.
Yeah, they want to reduce the scamming because before, if people lost items, Valve just gave them back or gave them a duplicate.
Replaced them.
Yes. And to reduce those scammings, they introduced a mobile authenticator. It's two-factor authentication. So first you have to log in through your password and then use your mobile phone, which is generating for each login a new key, a new sequence of letters or numbers, and you have to enter that too. So your account is really used by you and by nobody else. That's the purpose behind it.
Right, and there's no way to get access to your account unless if they have your mobile device. So it's fairly secure, and it makes it a lot easier for them when accounts aren't getting hacked all the time.
And they also explained too why they chose not to go with an established authenticator like the Google Authenticator app. Part of it is because they wanted to use their authenticator to confirm trades, and they felt that they couldn't do that if they were trying to then tie that to a third-party app.
Which brings me to my biggest gripe with this now, is being heavily impacted by this because I cannot use this authenticator even if I want to, because they are using that non-standard one, which is only out for iOS and Android, I believe.
Correct.
And I'm on Ubuntu phone now because I actually think Android stinks. And I cannot use this at all, so I will be always impacted by this.
Yeah, my phone is an old Nokia. I can only use desktop authenticators, so this doesn't really do much for me either.
Please tell me it's the N900.
Or an N810.
I don't recall off the top of my head. It's a fairly new one.
Okay.
So the Steam controller update then?
Yeah, so Valve made this little web page that, well, this article that has a bunch of the changes they've been making to the Steam controller since releasing it. So they highlighted how they've been adding a lot of features, including some that were influenced by the community, where people just asked for new features and they added them. Among these were using the gyro for aiming. That's something that wasn't so anticipated beforehand and is now very common. They added a joystick mode that emulates a mouse, so it sort of has relative input. They added mouse regions, which means the touchpad has absolute input instead of a... each region on the touchpad correlates to a part on the screen, and you can adjust the size of that and the scale. So it's really useful for if you want to click in a specific spot, you can make the mouse region snap to that spot and get muscle memory from that and so on. There's also touch menus, which are similar, but they're a button instead of controlling the mouse. Your configurations now follow you even if you're on somebody else's computer when someone else is signed in. They added a on-screen keyboard when you're on the desktop, so you can use it outside of big picture mode. You can share configs for non-Steam games, and probably lots of other things. Let's see, they added the controller HUD, which is more of a diagnostic or a learning tool. It tells you on screen what you're pressing.
Ah, that's what I was missing.
Um,
So you can directly see what you changed.
I actually requested that they add the super key or the Windows key to the one of the keys that you can find, and in an update they added that as well as media keys. So, like pause, play, next, volume up and down, and so on. So that's really nice. It makes it a lot more useful on the desktop as well as certain games that do use a super key.
Ah, that's nice. It shows how flexible the controller is, even though it's already out.
Yeah.
You can still do a lot of stuff with the firmware update.
Oh yeah, they've been doing lots of firmware updates, and the beta of the Steam client has been getting features really quickly for the Steam controller. So it's exciting stuff. I'm not biased.
Well, now I have a question though. Have you tried using the Steam controller outside of Steam, and then how has it performed there?
Oh yeah, I made a... Wait, do you mean outside of Steam's interface, or do you mean with
Outside of,
Steam not running?
with Steam not running, like just as a controller on its own.
Right now there's an open source app that uses Python that you can use on the desktop for configuration. Right now it's not ready yet to support all the same features that the Steam controller does within Steam, but it has 2 presets at the moment, and you can also adjust some things with the haptics. So you can use it as a normal Xbox controller outside of Steam if you want.
All right, I mean that's a start.
Yeah, for the most part, it's recommended that you just add non-Steam games to Steam, and then it'll work. But you can use it outside. It's just not the best right now.
I tried doing that with Mupen64 and it didn't work, so I might be looking at that tool.
What I was messing around with DOSBox, and in order for Steam to detect that the game is there, it needs to be using GL so that it can have the overlay, and then it knows to switch context. So you need to use a display mode in Mupen that uses GL instead of like surface rendering or whatever they use by default.
Yeah, no, my problem there was using the configuration tool, because that is obviously not GL because it's written in a toolkit.
Okay, got it.
And, well, I can't use it.
Right.
But yeah, I should use that thing some more again. That seems like some problems have been solved I had when I first played around with it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Since they've added the super key, I made a config that is public for the i3 tiling window manager, so it's easy to switch between workspaces and move windows around and such. And of course, if there's a game that you want to config for, and I own it, I will make it for you.
Or if you want to send him games.
Excuse me?
You can gift him games.
I'm sure he'd probably try that.
So, do we want to mention yesterday's great Christmassy security fluff up?
It was fixed pretty quickly, wasn't it?
Couple of hours.
It was about 1 hour that other people had the chance to view other people's profiles and pages from their account.
I think we've mentioned it now.
Yeah.
So, now let's mention it. So, as probably everybody who was online on Steam yesterday noticed, is that they had some really major security screw up in which it was possible for random people to view somebody else's Steam store page, with a page that was generated for another user, pretty much at random by virtue of some caching issue on Valve's side, which they apparently changed their caching in response to the Christmassy DDoS that happen every year now. And yeah, they screwed up royally, and through that some email addresses and real names could have leaked.
And also some credit card informations.
But only the last 2 digits and not the CRC, so no, nothing really major. Just if you, like me, have a special serious stuff email address that normally doesn't leak out to anywhere where you have your money stuff attached to, you, like me, hope that nobody got served your page.
It's also, it was read-only, so nobody could have traded away your items or bought all your stuff, or bought stuff with your account, or anything.
Yeah, you basically just got sent the wrong HTML page.
There's also basically no risk of passwords being compromised, or anything like that. So, and it only could have happened if you were using the store page around the time that the issue came up. So
So basically, if you bought anything, they'll see your name and the last four of your credit card.
That's worst case scenario.
Right.
And
Worst case.
so it's kind of not so good, but really not catastrophic either.
You said it was like a off by one error, so technically like only one person could have viewed it. Yeah.
Yeah, I heard that it was an off by one error in a configuration somewhere.
So, but the big takeaway here is that Ralph is absolutely, completely shite at communication. Because for the most time in which that issue happened, or better yet, for the entire time, SteamDB, which I remind you is not at all affiliated with Valve or Steam, has explained the issue and assured people of what was actually happening because of their investigation they did, and people like Valvetime did, and even Total Biscuit, the rather popular YouTuber, did more explaining than Valve, which took over 4 hours to respond to that issue by sending a canned message out to all the other pages that actually did the on-point reporting on that issue. So there is, to this very point in time, not an official statement on Steam itself about what happened.
I think they could still be investigating too. I mean, if they use a different edge provider, or if the cache wasn't on their side that this happened, there's all kinds of other things still involved. I think that's what I think right now people are discussing it. They're talking about it. They're trying to figure out the best way to approach it without giving away too much information about what may have happened.
Not to mention what happened on Christmas Day, so the people that have authority to say what they can discuss are probably not around.
Right. So I figure probably come Monday, we're probably going to get some announcement from somebody, including Valve, about what actually happened and what they're doing to mitigate it in the future, perhaps.
Ah, you wide-eyed fool.
I know. I try.
If this was any other company that usually is good at communicating, I might agree with you, but this is Valve. This is them acting like they always do, which is not at all.
Fair enough.
But yeah, at least nothing serious happened, but it was a highly visible issue and people were panicking and pooping their pants all over the internet.
Some people, before the issue was better understood, some people were probably trying to remove their payment information, which really put you more at risk of losing that information, of exposing it. So,
yeah,
it would have been nice if Valve could have responded quicker with an official statement, then people would understand what was happening at least. But I think overall, things are gonna be fine.
At least Valve officially responded to GameSpot.com.
And Kotaku, because Kotaku.
That's the official way to announce anything.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not like they can, in some way or shape, project a message onto every one of the client's computers through some software they may or may not have downloaded. I don't know about that.
That sounds like maybe a good idea for companies to start looking into things like that.
And that would have been interesting too, because it might have worked. It just would have been in the wrong language.
Because that was another issue, since you were seeing other people's pages. Sometimes it would show someone else's page in another language. How fun.
If you're doing that through the website, doesn't it, like once you view it in another language, it like remembers and stays that language?
I'm not sure.
I've had that issue before.
Yeah, but I don't think so. It was like you were sending the correct request, usually with your stuff attached to your cookies, your ID, and you just got served somebody else's page.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Right, so I doubt it would have made any changes to how they perceive what they should serve you. It's just that you saw the wrong thing.
Yeah, it makes sense.
But let's move on to good news, which are tech news, because tech news are usually good news.
Yeah.
Unity 5.3 has been released with a brand new OpenGL 4.0 backend, which should improve things a lot, visually and in terms of performance. There was a really impressive demo of, what's that game called? Dream something? That adventure game that had problems moving over to a newer version of Unity?
All of them?
I think every game has had problems moving to a newer version, but some have worked better than others.
Yeah, but it's quite impressive, and it's definitely worth it for everybody that is not already shipping a game with an older version where it's not feasible to update, to now update to Unity 5.3. We also got a new Linux build of 5.3, but sadly that is internally still using the old fallback OpenGL back, and somebody do the next one because I haven't read a thing about that.
Yeah, Valve released a video about building the Steam controller. It is viewable everywhere, especially on YouTube. Here's the link. And it's a very nice video. It's a fast motion capture, where machines are built up in a room and they assemble the Steam controller. And if you have a look at the machines, there is an imprint on them, which says Aperture. So we know now from where the Steam controller is coming from, probably through a portal.
Yeah, so
It's very nice to view and hear the video because they have some sound assets from Portal inside for the machines, which is very cool.
yeah, all the sound effects are basically taken straight from Portal. It's just modern assembly lines are cool.
Yeah, this is basically a completely automated assembly line.
And
No, there were some humans in there. That's why I don't buy it. See, so like these are robots and humans side by side. The robots would have revolted like long ago, I'm sure. So I'm kind of calling BS on the whole video. I'm pretty sure it was done in Source Filmmaker.
I was just impressed with how quickly it looked like they could set it all up. I mean, it looked like, a one-day job to set up an entire factory.
slide everything together.
Yeah.
Maybe this is not the first one they built.
This is also the assembly line at which my controller was built at, because it was shipped from there.
How can I see that?
Well, for me, it shipped from Elk Grove, Illinois, which is where they say in the beginning of the video this assembly line was located.
Mine shipped somewhere from the Netherlands, but that could just mean it was stored there in a warehouse or whatever after shipping overseas.
Yeah, at first I assumed that it was just in a warehouse, but after this video was released, it's pretty evident it was built there.
So, AMD has announced some big stuff alongside the usual, which we already know that they are looking to open up their driver more on Linux. They have also open sourced a whole lot of tools and middleware in their GPU Open initiative. That's all the stuff NVIDIA is doing with GameWorks pretty much, but it's made by AMD and open source, which means everybody can actually use this, including NVIDIA.
Yeah, so these are a bunch of tools to help developers have more advanced features within their games. Things like physics and lighting, different effects that take advantage of the GPU in ways that are not so easy to implement. And having it completely open source is really huge. I mean, it's going to make it a pretty big competition for NVIDIA, I think, because of that.
Yeah, even stuff like the TressFX hair stuff, which is the equivalent of Hairworks, which apparently doesn't seem to tank performance as much on either hardware. But yeah, this is what I want to see. I hate what has been happening with 3D or GPU vendor specific tools and middleware and technologies that are only ever useful for one set of people that have bought a new enough piece of hardware from that vendor and only that vendor.
Yeah, this is really exciting. I really want AMD to succeed with all this.
Oh yeah, if they only start actually delivering on their drivers. I am not looking at NVIDIA again with half a butt cheek because I support this. I mean, I support this morally, and that means I should be supporting this financially as well.
Yeah, but everything needs to come together, and then it'll be much easier for Linux users to fully support them. Perhaps when Vulkan is released.
Which is not happening this year, which you probably have guessed by the recording date of this cast. It has been delayed until 2016. So, could be next week, probably isn't, because they still have to do some conformance testing to make sure this specification actually behaves the same absolutely everywhere, which OpenGL surely does not.
Have we heard from engine developers if specifically if they're going to support it?
The people that do that strategy game that was used to demo DirectX 12 a lot, Ashes of the Singularity it's called, I believe. They have said they were doing a Linux version and using Vulkan with that, I believe.
But we haven't heard from Unity or Unreal.
No, a lot of major engine developers have announced quite a while ago that they were going to support Vulkan.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely Epic.
Yeah,
Unity has been holding back a bit, but since they are a big mobile player, and Vulkan, which some people seem to forget sometimes, is now basically Android's next generation official API,
Oh, nice.
which means they will be supporting it. There's no way.
yeah, I expect that Unity will. I'm not sure if they made an official announcement, but
Yeah.
as I already mentioned, Unreal Engine 4 definitely will.
Cool.
Godot will be supporting it at some point for those who are interested in that engine. But yeah, so they mentioned on their site that right now they're mostly waiting for conformance testing and legal review, and once that's all completed, the specification should be released. So it sounds like it's very close to ready, but they want to make sure everything is in order beforehand, which I don't think is such a bad thing, but obviously it'd be nice to have it sooner rather than later. Anyway, something to look forward to.
And I guess Wine 1.8 was officially released.
Yeah, this is a stable branch, and they also released 1.9, which is the new dev branch.
Yeah, I'm looking forward.
I'm so excited for that.
I guess they finally brought in the Pulse audio driver. That's going to solve a lot of problems for me once that gets passed down to the distributions.
And the big thing here is the initial appearance of preliminary DirectX 10 and 11 support, which is not a whole lot, but it's finally manifesting, and, well, you should keep an eye on the development branch if you're interested in DirectX 10 and 11.
They also added support for D-Write in this. This is the first time in a stable release that D-Write was supported.
I think those are both pretty big things.
Excuse me?
So I think D-Write and DirectX 11 support are both pretty big things because
Yeah.
makes Steam work better and opens up the possibility to get so many more games working eventually.
Right.
Especially those games from where we know they will never be ported.
Absolutely.
And Steam is an app that most people would recognize as D-Write having an issue, because previously you needed to manually disable it or else text would not render. But there are many games that actually benefit from that. A lot of games use D-Write for text rendering, and you should have a lot less issues with that in many of those.
Nice.
So, what's new in general gaming news? A lot of games have been released lately. First, Grid Autosport is released by Feral. And the special thing about this game, it has cross-platform multiplayer, which is very cool. Because as we know, Company of Heroes 2 had some issues, so they couldn't offer cross-platform multiplayer. So it's nice that with Grid Autosport, we can play with all over the world, all the gamers.
Which should be our expectation anyway, shouldn't it?
Well, it depends. If the developers don't have Linux in mind, or other operating systems, it might be an issue.
Yeah. Anyway, it's nice to have this. It's one of the more serious racing games available on Linux now.
Yes, it was said that as they released it, there wasn't any sale going on, so you could get it cheap then. But now, as the winter sale is going on, you have your chance.
Yeah, not quite Project Cars yet, but that's okay.
Project Cars. All right, prediction. Project Cars 2 comes out in 2016. Project Cars comes out 2017.
No way. It's not going to come out in 2016. Project Cars 2 won't be for a really long time.
And Project Cars for never.
We'll see.
So, another new release that happened, a game that slipped under everybody's radar when it was first released for any platform, was released for Linux without any kind of fanfare. It just happened. Bound by Flame, an action RPG you have probably not heard about before. And it's had a mixed reception on Linux, mostly because of issues that you either have or do not have with that game for no discernible reason or anything you could do on your own. Has anybody here bought it?
I got it on a sale, but haven't tried it yet.
I got it when it was released and still on a discount, and it would not start up for me at all properly. The executable would start, but there would never spawn any game window or anything would happen, and I could not do anything, and the developer would not respond for over a week. And I believe, looking at the forums, the developers have not responded to any Linux issues posted there at all, not a single one. So be really wary and make good use of the refund system if that game is not working out for you, because it might be worth the risk to test out. It has a mixed reception, but you might like it if you can get it to work.
So looks like XCOM 2 is slated to come out on 5th of February, 2016. Trailer's up on YouTube.
Is it a day and date release for us?
You know what? I don't know because I'm not. It's XCOM 2, so you tell me.
Is that Feral porting it again?
Aspire.
Or Aspire? Or which one?
Wasn't no.
It is a day one release.
Yeah.
Yes, I believe that it was Aspire last time and is going to be this time.
Okay.
I think that when it was announced, it was said to be coming out on the same day by Aspire.
Oh, nice. That's pretty rare for a porting company to have a deal like that.
Oh, actually, Feral. It was Feral that did the first one.
Was it? Okay.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay.
Well then.
That was me, sorry. Yeah, Aspire has been a bit absent from the Linux space recently, except for their re-releases of older titles. Have they done much for the Mac space? Has anyone been paying attention? Don't they love us anymore?
They released the latest release I know about was Homeworld Remastered Edition, and that was only for Mac.
And an old game.
The Remastered Edition? No, it's not so old.
But Homeworld in itself, and the remastered is like
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, well, yes.
already a re-release of an old game.
Yeah, sure.
I hope they are not having trouble in general, because they made some of the best ports, in my opinion.
Well, they've still been updating the games that they have ported, so they're still active, definitely.
Total War Attila is now on Linux. Who cares?
Probably Total War fans.
Well, it's from the people who made Alien Isolation. I don't care about Total War Attila, but
So there's so much alike, right?
Yeah, totally. And I think that they're like the same game, aren't they?
They just reskinned it. It could have been DLC.
Right, except that, one is a strategy tactics game, and the other is survival horror, but they're pretty close.
Oh no, I actually didn't know that because I didn't care.
But Total War Attila has had a mixed reception in general. It seems to be not the best entry into the Total War series. Like pretty much every other Total War game recently has not been the best entry into that series. Yeah, so if you like some strategy on Linux, this might be a title for you, but test it out first. Payday 2 is showing signs of Linux support. There's finally some stuff in the depot. Seems like we're getting a hugely popular game right after it has screwed up all goodwill it had in the community. Isn't timing a nice thing?
Excellent thing.
Yeah, this is the joy of Linux gaming, isn't it? Though I mean, that's what it means, though, because we're doing it for the principle and not because we want to play with other people, right? Right?
We don't need cross-platform.
So what did they screw up? I hadn't really followed them.
In October, I believe, they added microtransactions to the game, which a lot of people were very upset about.
Ah, okay.
Especially as they said they would never introduce microtransactions.
Right. I think that was the biggest thing, is very early, and because they've been supporting this game for a while, and they're going to continue to support it. A long time ago, they said that they were never going to have microtransactions, and now they do. So there's been a lot of backlash, and they've said they're going to look into what they can do to fix it, but for now, people are still upset, I guess.
Yeah, and the thing here is they went all out. So you get random drops you have to open a bit, I believe, a bit like Counter-Strike and TF2. And there is cosmetic stuff in these crates. So far, so good. But that cosmetic stuff, when you wear it, gives you actually tangible, no negatives, bonuses only, stats boost and stuff. So having the stuff is actually making you better at the game, because you get boosts and bonuses.
Yeah, it sounds a little shady, but
Yeah.
well, hopefully they'll find a way to make people a little happier about it.
And I think that by the time it comes to Linux, it'll probably be mostly smoothed out. And while they've certainly made mistakes before, and this is not something new to them, they still continue to support it. They put so much effort into that. So by the time it comes to us, I feel like everything will be good.
Is that your prediction?
Yeah, if they just change it in a way that their cosmetic stuff is actually cosmetic only, and that is what you need to pay for, I have zero problems with this at all.
So, Flipfly has opened up voting to the community for what game they're going to develop next. They've had demos on their website, which include Linux versions, and
Yeah, they have. This is the first round. They have several prototypes up, and I guess each month they are presenting 2 of them. And this is kind of showdown, as they call it. So you choose one of those, and in the next round you choose from 2 different prototypes, and then the winner of each round is competing for the next round.
so it's tournament voting.
Yeah, and as already mentioned, they are cross-platform for all platforms available, especially for Linux. At the moment, they have Taxicopter and Doopy's Wrong Turn.
And Taxicopter is killing it.
And for those who are unfamiliar, these are the developers of Race to the Sun.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
And we had Aaron lately on the cast.
So, here is a big one. Street Fighter V has been announced to support SteamOS and Linux. Coming out of nowhere, kicking you in the face, and making you love it.
Yeah, this was so unexpected. And previously, Capcom, or really any big Japanese game developer or publisher, has basically ignored Linux.
They have ignored the PC, so this is doubly surprising.
You're right.
Oh, yes, that too. And it's huge, and they're gonna support Linux. They said this was in cooperation with Valve. They're also going to add support for the Steam controller, native support.
Nice.
Yeah, this shows that the companies are seeing that the Steam machines with the Steam controller may be the correct platform for those type of games.
I didn't expect this to be possible for years. I thought this might happen after, like, EA and Ubisoft started making games for Linux, only then.
Well, I think it's a huge part of, using Unreal Engine 4 and how its native support is really coming along.
Are they using Unreal Engine 4 for Street Fighter?
Yes, they are.
Yeah.
Cool. Normally the Japanese studios are always rolling their own engines.
Right, so when it was announced that it was going to be using Unreal Engine 4, a lot of people speculated that it could come to Linux, but still, plenty of developers use engines that support Linux and still don't port. So I didn't think it would happen, but really exciting.
Having infrastructure in place pays off dividends in the end.
Oh, yeah.
Is there any game like a Street Fighter game already available for Linux?
Skullgirls,
Ah.
which is fairly competent and popular, and I suck at it a lot.
Maybe you need a config from Hero for your Steam controller.
If that is a config that plays the game for me, then maybe.
Ask Hero to do it.
Yeah, you just have to have all the macros built in for the combo moves, and then that might work better.
Yeah, like 3 shift layers for the controller or something like that.
The Steam controller doesn't have scripting. That would be kind of hard to implement without an external program.
You'll figure it out.
You can find a way, Hero. We believe in you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So moving on to the next item. Hacknet is available for Linux, which is ported by FlibbityGBibo. And he wrote a post about it, which is available on Google+.
This goes hand in hand with the release of the 1.0 version of FNA, the re-implementation of XNA with STL and actually good technologies that FlibbityGBibo has written and has been using for pretty much every mono game C# XNA release he has had in recent years. This is not.
Yeah, it's been advancing really well, and it's cool that he's using the newer versions that he's released and making his older ports updated with it. So getting the benefit for everything, really.
And if I remember correctly, this year marks the largest year for him as far as number of ports done. So exciting stuff.
So Campo Santo released 17 minutes of gameplay footage of their forthcoming game Firewatch, which has been, I believe, rumored to have Linux support or will have Linux support.
It will have.
And what the premise of this game is, you play a park ranger who has to look over the park.
It's pretty looking, if nothing else.
Well, it's a mystery game.
I have not noticed that video so far.
I keep expecting to see Yogi Bear around the corner somewhere.
And Boo Boo.
He kills you. He steals your picnic basket after killing you.
No.
I can't believe you'd spoil it like that.
So, as we have already mentioned, Saints Row 4 and Saints Row Get Out of Hell have been released for SteamOS and Linux, ported by Virtual Programming, and it's a damn good and fun release, in my opinion.
I feel like with the amount that we've mentioned it already, it should have been the first thing we said.
Yeah, I was reading about several complaints about performance issues, and the requirements on the Steam Store page are quite high for this game. But on my 6-year-old PC, it still runs quite smooth.
Any of you running it with AMD hardware?
I'm running on NVIDIA hardware and Intel processor, but it depends on the scenes, but I almost have never less than 30 FPS, and it plays very smooth. Other people complain about stuttering and FPS drops. This, at least on my machine, I can't confirm, and this game is so much fun. It feels a bit weird though, because, well, this is not a real spoiler, but
Well, then you're playing it correctly, because it's supposed to feel weird when you play it.
yeah, no, what I want to refer to is when you play the first, 5 minutes, you realize you are in a simulation like the Matrix, and this is, at the beginning, I feel a little bit weird about, because you are in a game, and in this game you are in a simulation, and this is a little bit strange in my opinion.
Well, about the performance issues, this is, I have said in the past, after Virtual Programming pretty much delivered their first actually decent performing port, that they apparently have to choose and pick their battles, and this is one of these cases. This is a really huge open world game, or fairly huge open world game, that is highly draw call intensive, and this is where the big story of CPU overhead through this kind of porting comes in and just kills it for you if you do not have a fast enough processor. I mean, I get around 40 FPS in the city and also never drop below 30, but that's on my AMD CPU overclocked to 4.5 gigahertz. So if you're on an AMD CPU and are not overclocked, you will probably have problems with this game. But once you're past the CPU overhead, you are pretty much in GPU town, where you just have to, well, have a good enough GPU and can crank it up as high as possible if you have.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the videos I saw of people that had AMD GPUs were getting poor performance even on the lower settings, and that's kind of sad because when you start the game, you see the big AMD logo saying how much better it is, so it's like, oh.
Well, that was a franchise deal made for the Windows version, and we all know it.
Yes, obviously.
It's kind of funny.
Yeah, it runs pretty well for me.
It seems like half of VP's ports are really high quality on Linux, and the other half are just average. And it's probably not entirely, it's probably having to do with the engines they're working with and difficulties they encounter. And it's still nice to have their ports.
Yeah.
It's just interesting to observe this.
Well, they've only had a handful of ports, so I'll give it some time, and I'm sure we'll see some improvement.
Yeah, well, they're still doing a good job, even with their more average ports, as some would say.
But I'm super happy that this is here. This is one of the first games where I just sat down and played all the way through it, which doesn't happen even with games I like anymore.
Except for Wasteland, or Wasteland 2.
Yeah, that surely happened. But that has been some time since that was released.
True, but I'm actually kind of excited to hear that, because I've been really excited about Saints Row 4 coming to Linux for a long time. But I'm also a fan of the series. I've played them all up to this point anyway. So it was just kind of natural that I was going to ease into this one as well. And it's also fun, though, to hear from people who haven't played the series at all, hearing that they're actually enjoying it. Because I wasn't sure how that was going to go, because there's a lot of in-jokes throughout the entire thing and references to the other games, characters and situations that may have happened. So it's good to hear that other people are enjoying it.
So yeah, but Saints Row 4 was also one of these games that was kind of hinted at and announced a while back, if people remember.
Right, in the Steam sale that they had in the spring, this was like a soft announcement.
Yeah, coming to SteamOS.
Yeah, and as we remember, also Saints Row 3 and 2 have been on the front page of Virtual Programming as in development, so probably they...
Right, those are expected to be released early next year.
Oh, is there a confirmation about that?
Yes.
Yeah, they have said it somewhere.
Oh, nice, cool.
In the same announcement, they also said they're adding Steam controller support to 4.
Woohoo! You can make a config for it.
No, I don't have it.
And I'm so looking forward to 3 and 2 because Saints Row 4 gives you superpowers, and that sadly but also enjoyingly kills off pretty much any leftover GTA resemblance because you just have no need to go into a car anymore when you can just run faster than any car and run all through traffic and kick everything over. So, yeah. And 2 and 3 do not have superpowers, and then we are back into town with GTA, just in a wackier version.
Yeah, especially if you want to jump into a car, you normally use the shift key together with the E letter, and as soon as you press the shift key, you start running fast with your superpower. So it's difficult to enter a car in the jumping way.
Yeah, you can also unlock a skill where you cause a tornado when you run, which makes running into cars even harder because you start flipping everything around you all over the place. So forget about the cars. Just run all through and over and to and from anything.
Yeah, this superpowers reminds me, especially the jumping and flying, of Prototype, I guess.
Yeah, it feels a lot like Prototype. That's what the movement comes down to.
Yeah.
But since you mentioned Saints Row 2 and 3, one thing I did want to point out was that I'm going to be interested to see what happens when those do come out. Because like I said, I'm a fan of the series, so I played them. The performance in Saints Row 2 and 3 on the PC is it's kind of bad, right? So my concern is that when VP brings this over, they do such an accurate port that the performance is still awful, even on Linux. And then people start screaming at VP for this crappy port, when meanwhile no, these were already bad when they were on PC. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens when those come out as well.
And by PC, you mean Windows.
Whatever. Hippie.
No, so if people remember, I was actually a tester for the Humble internal porting stuff, which recently shut down, so whatever. And there I got to test the port for Saints Row 4, which I can tell you now, I hope I can tell you, otherwise I don't give a crap, is not this port. What I was testing there was an actually native port, and I can tell you for a fact that this internal native port was not progressing at all, looking like crap, and performing like utter shite. So
That's interesting.
this is a damn better job than what I have played during the entire time of internal testing.
Yeah, I didn't know that wasn't using Eon. That's interesting.
So
Well, thank you for that.
native isn't always the way to go, especially if it's not progressing at all.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
interesting.
probably it could have been done well, but
You heard it here first, except not from Dorita if that breaks an NDA.
Yeah, for something that doesn't exist anymore, see if I care.
do you know who was porting it?
I can't remember. I don't know if that site still exists, but it was, yeah, it was.
So none of the of porters we know about, like Aspire or Ferro.
I honestly just don't remember anymore. I don't want to throw anyone under the bus. It was definitely not the company. It was some of the internal porters, but I don't know if that person didn't have time. If it was a really hard job, but it just wasn't going anywhere and not working decently at all.
Yeah, if you have no experience, porting to Linux might not be so easy. So
I mean, there's plenty of factors. It's impossible to say exactly what happened.
But yeah, let's not dwell in the past. We now have it.
Yeah. Now, just one last thing before we move on to Divinity. Nemoter, you should be able to go back. Hopefully you had a save and go back and choose the other door.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. All right. No spoilers.
It's still a bit short, though. I finished it with all side quests done in about 27 hours,
Yeah.
which includes some of leaving it on when I went to dinner or under the shower, so let's say 24 hours.
Yeah, that's about my completion time as well, and didn't take long to get everything. Yeah.
I did not include acing all the side activities. I have played all the side activities, but I didn't get a gold medal everywhere, so.
Same.
yeah, probably after, because first my game which I started and completed was Axiom Verge, that I was looking for the next game I could do the same with. That will be probably Saints Row 4.
Yeah, and let's talk a bit about Get Out of Hell again,
Ah, yes.
which I don't see myself finishing unless I play it with somebody in co-op.
Right now I'm in the same boat that I'm thinking that I'm hopeful that a couple missions in, maybe things will change and it'll start to pick a different direction. But right now, I'm not even sure why it was released as just kind of a standalone property.
Because Deep Silver wanted some more money. They just bought Volition, and I guess they put more into Saints Row 4 than they hoped they could get out of it. Even though it was a very successful release for them, and THQ was really missing a bit of a financial boon there by not releasing Saints Row 4.
Yeah, I mean, Gat's an interesting character, but I will admit that.
But that's not Saints Row. I want to make my own character.
Yeah.
I mean, that game
Yeah.
starts off with your player character from the last game being abducted. I mean, if you've played Saints Row 4 before, it actually uses the model and the voice of the player character you created for that.
Yeah.
To just
yeah.
wipe it away. Here's the interesting character you made. Say goodbye to him. You now play as Johnny Gat, which is cool as a NPC for the rest of Saints Row.
And that's another thing too, is that it's one of those where if you're familiar with the series, then this kind of works, and especially some of the opening cutscenes, there's definitely some humorous sequences that some of the responses are very Johnny Gat. That's his character. But then, playing an entire game as him, and the models are great. The what they've done and creating that kind of hellish environment is really fun. And I don't know. I've only played for a couple of hours, so it's kind of tough to make a judgment on it. But I did.
And so did I. So if you can only possibly ever afford one of these, you should get Saints Row 4.
Well, it's on sale right now on the winter sale, so...
Yeah, it's like less than $12, both of them together, with the all DLC version for Saints Row 4.
Yeah, you can get the Century edition of it. Does Get Out of Hell, is it such a standalone so you don't need to play the Saints Row 4 before?
You can play Get Out of Hell by itself.
It's completely standalone.
Okay.
Well, and I find it interesting too, because now that we've mentioned the DLC for it, they Enter the Dominatrix was initially planned to be DLC. Like in the game, they riff off that, but it was intended to be DLC for Saints Row 3, or it was going to be a standalone project using.
No, at first it was DLC planned.
Yeah, and then it was going to be a standalone, and then it became DLC for Saints Row 4.
Huh.
But it's actually it's humorous the way they play on that, and then they have the characters in the game acting as if they're actors inside the. Remember that whole simulation inside simulation thing? Yeah, it gets like that.
And they break the fourth wall in their DLC all the time. And my god, the ending.
Don't spoil it. I haven't played it yet.
Oh, you have to play it. No, you have to play it.
Yeah.
You are cracking up. I mean, they know they are just creating complete bollocks there, but they go all the way. All the way.
Well, I guess we finally got Divinity Original Sin port out. That's been kind of controversial because it's taken so long for them to do that, but seems to run pretty well for everybody that's tried it.
Yeah, and it's an in-house engine even, isn't it? They are not using like Unity or something. They have actually had to port this properly.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's currently discounted 33% off, which is not huge. It's if you get the Enhanced Edition, Collector's Edition of editions, it's actually still like 43 euros and something, but yep. So not the greatest deal, but it's a damn good game. It won GOTY all over the place last year.
Yeah, the Collector's Edition includes a second Enhanced Edition you can give to a friend.
That's nice.
Oh.
So
I can
play
rope
it in
somebody.
co-op. Yeah.
Yes, this is indeed an idea I might take on, yes.
I'm also thinking about getting this game in the Collector's Edition. But I already bought so many games in the sale. I don't know when to finish them.
Yeah, and just to be clear, if you haven't really looked at the game, you might think it's a Torchlight style game, but it's very much turn-based combat, I guess, and a little more tactical.
Yeah, it's more of a CRPG than an ARPG.
Yeah.
It's a fairly old school RPG to the core with some interesting mechanics, like really classically everything can be an NPC giver and you can kill quest giver, and you can pretty much kill every quest giver there is. So if you just roll into the place, kick ass, take names, you might have just taken the name of the quest giver and you didn't even notice, because I guess a famous quote of that is that there's
Oh, spoiler.
stag or a deer that can be a quest giver, and people often just kill it. Because, oh, look, an animal, let me kill it. And that was spoiled for me too, so I just extended my spoilerness onto you.
OpenMW had a pretty big release with 0.37, which includes the new graphical framework being switched from Ogre 3D to OpenSceneGraph. This is something they've been looking forward to for a really long time.
That's the open source Morrowind. Is that what that MW is?
Right, OpenMW is an open implementation of the Morrowind engine, the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind engine, and it is really nice. So with the new graphical framework, it's way higher performance than it was previously, and fixed a huge amount of bugs as well. So they actually lost some graphical quality, things that they implemented in Ogre 3D that they have not yet in OpenSceneGraph, but this is still a massive release and brings them a lot closer to their goal of having a stable 1.0.
Yeah, but it's apparently already completely playable start to finish with basically most or all mechanics built in.
There's still some game-breaking stuff in the expansions, I believe. In certain cases, it's possible to mess things up, but it's really awesome.
I guess that's about it for gaming news. Shall we move on to crowdfunding?
Indeed.
Well, we've got the big one, Psychonauts 2. So some people have misgivings about Double Fine, but they're rolling full on with this and looks like it's doing pretty well.
Yeah, so
yes,
they're doing this on their Fig platform for crowdfunding,
which they have apparently already used to manipulate their campaign a little, where they just bumped up the run date when the campaign was already running, I have heard, which is...
Yeah, but when it's your platform, you can do that, right?
When you're Tim Schafer, you can do that. You just take everybody's money, underdeliver, and ask for more money next year.
Ooh.
I would be very careful about giving Tim Schafer any more money. That studio is just burning it, and I have no hopes for this to actually be what people want it to be.
I'm curious why they chose to do a Psychonauts 2. Like, why just, I know that they're also working, I believe, on Headlander, which may or may not have Linux support, but I'm just so surprised, and I'm surprised that they took this route with it. I mean, I understand they wanted to promote Fig, but did Broken Age do that poorly that they didn't feel confident trying to maybe use something new? Or
Massive Chalice was also rather underwhelming. I guess it was more what they promised than Broken Age was, but still not really wowing people, and, well, they screwed up space-based DF9.
I think the main reason they wanted to do their own thing was because it ties in different, not just the crowdfunded money, but investor money, and that was something that was a little harder to do with Kickstarter.
Right. They were trying to innovate when they created Fig, and that's a huge part of it, is having investment options.
Yeah, personally, I was pretty happy with Broken Age. I mean, for what it was, it took a little longer, I suppose, than most people would have liked, but they still pretty much delivered kind of what they had envisioned. But yeah, obviously there's been some letdowns with things like Space-Based DF9.
Well, there are still 17 days left, and they are only 90% funded, so maybe it won't succeed.
Well, it will succeed, probably.
Yeah, for sure.
I think they'll find a way.
But it should not be your money that helps them succeed, because you can still buy it when it actually releases and happens to be what they promised. Then they deserve it.
I think that was what underwhelmed me when the announcement happened. I was like, well, that's great that they just announced Psychonauts 2, but they didn't say, oh, we're already really invested in this and we're going to make this anyway, but we'd like your help. It was, we're going to hold this hostage if we can't make it, or if we can't make our funding goal.
Well, that's the traditional thing to do with crowdfunding.
Yeah.
Not that surprising.
Yeah, my only concern is with the outside investment. There's historically always been strings attached, and the whole point of crowdfunding was to remove those strings, and so it'll be interesting to see how that works out.
Yeah, we'll see.
If it's a mess, I'm just gonna get some popcorn ready or crisps and enjoy the show. If it's gonna be a good game, I play a good game, which I pay for when it's actually released.
Right. Yep.
And when Brian Fargo does something on Fig, I will shove my money up his ass like you wouldn't believe.
What tier is that? Is it like that?
Brian has a big smile tier. So, in other crowdfunding news, a bit sad but also understandable, the Smack Z portable Steam machine Kickstarter happened and then was pretty much cancelled soon after, before it concluded.
Yeah, I was thinking about backing this because this is, well, a portable Steam controller with the PC on it. It was supposed to support SteamOS in the beginning, even though a stretch goal had Windows support inside. But as we have seen, the money they raised wasn't fast enough, so they decided to cancel it. Nevertheless, the formerly named Steam Boy would have been an interesting gaming tool, I guess.
But yeah, I'm also interested in this, but this was not the version I wanted to get because the AMD SoC they were talking about was underpowered, which they also talk about in their cancellation notice, that they had to have more time to actually determine which SoC they were going to use finally. And yeah.
It seems like a nice idea that just wasn't ready to be in production.
Yeah, and this also seems like a product I just don't want to get the Generation 1 of.
This is something that I'm not personally interested in for myself, because generally, if I'm not home, I'm not playing games anyway. But it's something I really wanted to work out. I was thinking about just getting a t-shirt or whatever from them to help them along. And I'm really excited for when they're going to open this up again, because hopefully they'll approach it with a little more information, especially as Linux users. We know that AMD can be kind of scary. So we know that they were working with AMD. Maybe they'll be able to give some more information about how exactly they were going to achieve good performance.
And what do you think about the 1080p screen they wanted to have as a stretch goal?
The 1080p stretch goal, I really hope they never do that, because in a mobile device, I feel like that's just going to hurt performance way too much, and for what benefit when it's so small?
Yeah, I feel the same. I think you won't have any visual benefit with a higher resolution screen on such a small screen.
Certainly some games would look nicer, but I think, especially for 3D games that have more realistic graphics, you're going to hurt the performance way more than you're going to get better fidelity out of it.
But honestly, to give the elephant in the room a big pat on the trunk, this is not the company that can actually pull something like that off. I have no faith in these people. They basically only had renderers and canceled it like this because of concerns that they should have dealt with before. I don't believe in this project, even though I want it to be a real thing.
Yeah, they were totally missing a prototype.
You remember the KDE project when they tried their Vivaldi tablet, or however they eventually ended up calling the thing that never released? They bit off much more than they could chew because they had no bloody idea how this manufacturing project actually has to work. They messed up. They got wholeheartedly ignored by pretty much everybody in the manufacturing space in China because of their low numbers, which was also something the Open Pandora project had to face early on. And these people would have to face as well, and this is doomed to failure if they already don't have a prototype. They are not at all in talks with the people that they would need to be in talks with to have the mass-produced version out.
Yeah.
But I'm just being a negative Nancy, am I not?
No, not at all. I think of it as pragmatic.
You're just being yourself, Dorita.
So, for something more optimistic that was totally not scheduled in the run sheet.
Oh boy.
Prediction time. What is next year going to bring us? Bean.
Rocket League?
That is not a prediction, that is just reading the calendar.
Dang it, I was gonna say Vulcan.
Damn it. Here's my thing is I'm hoping Vulcan's gonna come out. I'm hoping early, like probably I would say by March, hopefully. But I'm just thinking no one's gonna care. That's my real prediction. Is that there's gonna be like some early implementation of Vulcan and no one's gonna care. We're not gonna see much change. I don't think it's for still a couple of years off.
Well, that's what I was saying. If the big engines start picking it up, the smaller projects will use it right away, and that might make a difference. But yeah, the big projects, it's going to be a while before that is even noticeable.
Yep, I agree with Nemoder in that as soon as the engine's implement it, which I imagine Unreal Engine will have it fairly quickly, and also Source 2, considering it was already shown off using it. So when these engines have it, anybody that's using it are probably going to jump on that pretty quick.
Yeah, that is a good prediction. All these engines paying us off more dividends in ways you people wouldn't believe, like Street Fighter V coming out.
Yeah.
I think we will see some more of these. I cannot put a name on them because, like, it could or could not be any old Unreal Engine 4 game that is going to release next year. Also, The Witcher 3 is going to release next year.
Haha.
Please, please, please.
When you get your Witcher 3, I want to have Elite Dangerous.
It could happen.
Deal.
All right.
Which, I think there was a listing for a job
Yeah.
related to Linux at the developer of Elite Dangerous.
Yeah, there were speculations if it's for the client or for the server side.
Right.
Well, when they talk about really, it sounded like they talked about one code base across Windows, Mac, and Linux. And honestly, maybe back in the day, but these days you do not talk about server software and Mac in one sentence ever at all.
That's true, actually.
Yeah, David Braben already said there is, in general, no big deal in running the engine on Linux as it's all OpenGL. So, and they have a Mac client already out. So the step onward to Linux shouldn't be so big.
So is that your prediction, Dorita?
Witcher 3?
Yeah.
It's my straw I'm grasping at, but also a prediction.
I feel like it's pretty safe.
Is it?
A safe prediction for the entire of next year to have The Witcher 3.
Okay, let me be more concrete. When The Witcher releases the GOTY Enhanced Edition, which it probably will because that always happened with The Witcher, then we will see a Linux version, and not before. It could also coincide with the outstanding GOG Galaxy release for Linux,
Yeah.
which hopefully still happens, and apparently most here have forgotten about it.
I would like to see that happen.
Yeah.
Oh, they were saying that it will happen, but
I sure hope so. Because it works really well.
This would be like a perfect combination, GOG Galaxy client on Linux and The Witcher 3 release on Linux, just to round it off and drum up the attention. Then I will even buy it on GOG, like for the first time ever I will buy a Witcher game on GOG.
We forgot to mention they did release the itch.io application, and it does work, and it does update games on Linux, but
Yeah.
your game selection on there is probably going to be somewhat limited.
Yeah, and there's still this weird, you have to go through the store, like in a web browser, to add it to a collection before you'll see it in the client.
Yeah, but once it's installed, then you don't have to keep going back to the webpage. It'll just update whatever you have. That's the main benefit.
Right.
Interesting.
It's fairly slick.
So it's more of just an updater than a traditional client as you would expect, where you can obtain everything.
Yeah. I don't know, my prediction, or at least that's not really a prediction, just a hope that we have some amazing new IP that nobody's heard of, not some sequel, not some big company that's just, doing their thing again, but some entirely new game, and that's going to be awesome. So I'm just going to hold out for that.
That already happened this year.
your CD Projekt is working on Cyberpunk 2077.
Yeah, but that is not supposed to come out until even, I believe they said even after 2017, because of how long this will take.
Yeah.
So...
You should have crafting and zombies and... Oh wait, sorry, man.
And at least as many bugs as the other games.
But Nemoda, back to your point about a new IP that also is on Linux that kind of surprises everybody. Didn't that kind of happen already with Ark?
I suppose. Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah.
Another prediction for 2016 would be getting Evolve on Linux.
And nobody will care. This is my addition to that.
No, I would.
I think that's also a pretty safe one.
I don't know. We haven't heard anything about that.
Well, they've already confirmed that they're doing it, so...
Is anyone still playing Evolve?
Oh, yeah, sometimes.
I mean, I think that'd be one of the factors, wouldn't it? No, I guess not, because Payday 2 is still showing signs.
Yeah, but Payday 2 still has years of development planned, so that's not the case with Evolve.
Could next year also be the year where the Linux support finally becomes some kind of in a state of normalcy, where it's not that surprising anymore when even some bigger studios announce for not their most console-focused titles, hey, this will also be on Linux.
I think next year will be the year of the Linux desktop.
Yeah. And next year will be the year of the Linux desktop, because it's always next year.
That's always been the way.
I'm sorry, I'm a bad person.
No, I see Doritta's point. It would be nice if suddenly, like it didn't seem like it was such a big deal when a title from a major publisher came out and it was just common that it was going to be on all the platforms. I mean, we see so many of it now where they're going to the consoles as well. So who knows? Maybe.
I hope exclusives die a horrible death.
That won't happen as long as the consoles are fighting for dominance.
Oh well, we can dream.
Also, the new Deus Ex will be released on Linux because Feral has listened to us, like when we yelled at them, please port that one to Linux as well. You ported the last one to Mac, so give all of us the next one.
Yeah, we'll have to see. It's gonna be funny listening to this cast next year and going, oh man, we were so wrong about everything.
Yeah, because we got a whole lot more. We got everything in double.
Yeah, exactly. Instead, Linux became the de facto gaming operating system.
Dora, have you got any predictions for next year?
Oh, that's a tough one. I think Undertale is probably going to come to Linux by the end of the year.
Hooray!
That would be nice. I've heard so many good things about Undertale, and if it supported Linux, I'd have it a long time ago.
Yeah.
We know they're working on the console versions, I think. So I'm hoping that that includes Linux or something.
Could be.
Yeah.
Yes, through SteamOS. This is even a logical thing.
Yeah.
What engine is that made in? Do you know that?
Game Maker Studio.
Game Maker,
Yeah.
which it has an export to Linux button. So it's basically a non-issue and a question of whether they're willing to support it. And they've said after they fix some bugs. Maybe.
Yeah, the big game out there made with the Game Maker that supports Linux is Hotline Miami and Hotline Miami 2, I believe.
And Nuclear Throne.
Yeah, and it seems like this is a fairly uncomplicated process. Or was any of these games known to ever have had big issues with just the Linux version?
In my view, the issue is basically that if you put out on Linux, then you sort of have to be able to support people who have problems with your game on Linux.
True, good developers do that, but look at the people who ported Bound by Flame who do not give a crap.
Well, sure, you can rely on the community, but I think most developers know it would reflect poorly on them if they release on Linux and then people come to them saying, this doesn't work with my graphics card, and they say, we don't know.
Yeah, that's true. I still hope they will do it. I mean, because they are all rich and famous now, they can afford giving us Linux users a scrap.
Or maybe they hire someone who has a little bit more knowledge of Linux to actually help them test out in-house and that kind of thing. There are ways.
Oh, pick me, pick me.
I mean, there are definitely ways they can go about it that would still be a little more helpful than just throwing out a Linux version with no expectation that it's ever going to be able to be supported.
But like I said, it works pretty perfectly in Wine right now, so.
But that is heathen work, which we shall not do.
I'm quite literally a heathen, so I'm okay with that.
So I got a question. Does anybody know how many games are actually released on Linux in 2015?
1017 in total.
Total, but that was from the year before also.
And is that just Steam's count, or?
Quick, to last year's run sheet.
No. Let's say it was a whole lot.
I'm just curious,
Yeah, I'm going with that.
I think it's a big year, yeah.
And some of the biggest titles. I mean, especially VP, who has been shelling out these AAA games out of nowhere.
yeah.
Oh, actually, Expa released a graph that he made of confirmed games on Linux through SteamDB.
Oh, nice.
So we could try to find that. It's not exactly complete because it was only since it uses git blame, and it was only since the JSON file was in use. But let's see if we could find that.
I can't imagine any of us would have predicted this many games in 1 year for our platform. It's just been huge.
Oh no, it's not my scrollback. I have to start grabbing logs.
So while he's grepping logs, we should just.
Yeah, I still what I'm missing at the moment is when Steam or Valve removed the SteamOS icon from games which need third-party add-ons to run on SteamOS directly. At the moment, there are problems to find games which have Linux support but are not on the SteamOS page. like Kung Fury. I looked then on SteamDB, and even there it's not confirmed to run on Linux, but there is a Steam depot for Linux.
Yeah.
So I hope they fix that in some kind, so you can see this game is running on Linux, even if it's not running properly without any add-ons on SteamOS.
Yeah, there's been a number of games, especially after Valve did their great purge of games that didn't quite launch perfectly, and so even like 7 Days to Die has, had Linux support forever, but it's not listed anymore.
But the deal here was developers should have actually started bundling the external dependencies and then got the icon back. But that didn't happen except for a few cases where the developer actually cared.
Yeah.
Yeah, but even with Kung Fury on SteamDB, there is no tux icon. You have to look into the depots to see that it's working on Linux.
Yeah, but I still remain that it is good that they are not at all differentiating SteamOS and Linux, because that could only serve to hurt desktop Linux.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree that developers should just be bundling the libraries anyway. That's what they do on Windows.
DLL.
Yeah.
But dependencies are always hell, no matter which system you use.
Well, if they would,
And the Steam runtime
yeah,
uses that a lot.
I'd say if they just stick with the Steam runtime for most of what they need, I mean, it's mostly there. There's a few things I guess people use like libqt, but still.
Right, Qt sometimes is included in launchers and would be required.
Here's another prediction. Next year will be the year where Steam runtime starts falling apart a bit more, because I already see the first signs of that happening.
Yeah, we'll see.
Okay, now we can wrap things up.
Yeah.
So,
Stick around for some games.
well, I hope everybody enjoyed this.
Yeah, it was fun.
If you want to reach us, the usual ways.
Yes, feedback email cast@steamlug.org. IRC, we are on Freenode. Hashtag SteamLUG. Twitter @SteamLUG. Google plus SteamLUG. YouTube, we are this channel called SteamLUG. Thanks for listening in, and a Happy New Year, everybody.
Goodbye.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Happy New Year and Merry Yule.
All right, so that's the run sheet for anybody who's just joined us. And go ahead, Hero, you can do the intro.
Oh, thanks.
Since you like it,
Yep, it's my favorite.
we should have Linux into it.
Okay, Linux N who is muted.
He's not gonna. All right. All right.
Someone's got to.
Ah, shut up, you bitches. And then there was silence.
Yeah, we can cut that out in the edit, I know.
So,
I missed the
Hero.
run sheet. That is, I'm not finished. I also played Saints
You
Row
got
4.
3 items. Always a special.
Yeah,
Extra Wurst for the German guy.
why not? Why not? It's delicious.
So, well-rounded characters in there. Double entendre. Okay, that was shit. Let's move on.
It wasn't.
It wasn't.
We can change it in the edit.
Ah. And don't forget to add a message, a note that says,
Yeah.
totally not a troll.
Have we heard much?
No.
Go ahead.
So did we? What did we decide with these humbles? Probably already done.
Alright, it is done. Blam.
And there we go.
That's some baby having a lot of fun.
He's tired. And doesn't want to go to bed.
But Bean, you were saying?
Oh, no, what? I don't remember. It's probably something glib.
It was.
Yeah.
Your Alzheimer is really showing today.
Yeah, it's bad.
So, who wants some exclusive insider knowledge about the Saints Row 4 port? Bean, stop breathing like a perv.
Oh, you said stop. Stop. I'm sorry.
Corbin, you can make me say spoiler before, right?
Totally not a troll.
So everybody saw Star Wars, right?
Stop it! Yes, but stop. Right now.
Do you want me to track you down and kill you?
Oh, okay.
I haven't seen it either. so-
I'm actually disappointed. I'm actually disappointed that somehow this cone of silence is extended out to the internet in a way that it never has before. I don't understand. How did Star Wars manage to accomplish this? Because I want someone to spoil it for me. I don't want to have to go pay for it.
I could
Then
tell you
go
on Thursday.
to the Steam
Tuesday.
reviews where some random assholes just write reviews for stuff that contains Star Wars spoilers.
Oh, nice.
Or just YouTube comments in general. That's happening there all the time as well.
I kind of stayed off the internet until.
Wait, you read YouTube comments?
No, I do not.
Okay.
I have.
All right.
I shit you not. I have a blocking extension just to block YouTube comments
Oh, I believe
in
it.
my browser.
Oh, I totally believe it.
Cheese isn't here. I can say what I think now.
Anyone else have anything to say before we wrap this up, or?
Happy New Year!
Yeah, that.
Yeah.
I hope we.
I so need to go to the shitter.
Oh, you didn't wait for Corbin to stop
I
recording.
bet somebody was still recording.
No, I did not.
That's going in the cast, I'm sure.
If you want to have it, no problem.